Oh, I just did that on camera. Hello, everybody. It's Melanie Warner. Thank you guys for being here so much. I'm really excited about our show today. We have something very special we're going to be talking about. I'll introduce our guest in just a minute as we have people kind of gathering in here. I want to remind you that you can leave comments on the side. We can actually see your comments. We'd love for you to engage and ask questions if you have for our guests and really share your experiences as we go through this exciting journey that we're going to talk about today. So, I really want to be able to share with you. Sorry, somebody's like texting me, like, I need to get in. Um, I want to be able to share with you guys a little bit about some of these stories that we are featuring today. They're all coming from our new book called Angels Among Us. And this is a book about inspirational messages from beyond. So we're going to be talking about what is an angel encounter? Um, what does it mean? How do you recognize it? And the two guests that we have today, you're going to be hearing a little bit from them, and you're going to hear about their encounters as well. And you'll find a lot more in the book. So I just want to direct you to the book, and we'll send some links in the chat here that you can get the book. There's a very special launch price today for this book. It sells for $19.95, but today it's only $3.58. So it makes a great gift for somebody for Christmas. Don't worry, we won't tell them you only spent $3.58. They'll think you spent $20 on the book, right? Which is the retail price. So if you're looking for last minute gift ideas, especially if you're buying it on Amazon, you can get it in Prime usually within 2 days. And you can order multiple copies at this price and give them out to everybody, because everybody loves giving a gift of hope, right? And right now, it's the one thing we all need a little bit more of. And so without further ado, I'd love to introduce my two guests today. Carrie Faith Knudsen. Carrie, thank you for being here. And Loanne Meyer, thank you, Loanne, for being here. Mayer, I keep saying Meyer, and I know it's not Meyer, it's Mayer.
All right.
I've known you for so long. So thank you, ladies, so much for being here today. Carrie, tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, and just kind of introduce yourself to our audience here.
Thank you, Melanie, for having me today. And it's just such an honor to be amongst with you and all Luann and all the angels that have contributed to this book. So I am originally from La Jolla, California. It's mentioned in my story. And I currently live now in Portland, Oregon as of 2019. So about 4 years. And it's interesting enough that I've really had a opening to seeing the messages since moving to Oregon 4 years ago. And it coincides with my entrepreneurship journey. So I am an author 7 times. This is number 7. So it was a lucky number for me when I was invited to add my story to the book. Thank you. 7-time published author, speaker, coach, podcast host. And I love working with entrepreneurs and really activating the light within them.
Well, congratulations on book number 7. As we all know, the 777 is a great angel number. So that's a perfect round number for you as well. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And congratulations on being this your 7th book and as a best-selling author. So this is a book where we have featured multiple stories from different people who contributed a story. And because the book hit number 1 on the bestseller list, then that elevates everybody that contributed a story. So congratulations to all of you. And really quickly, I wanted to have Loanne jump in here for a second. Loanne, tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up here today.
Well, I live in New Jersey. I am an author also, and working on another book right now with you, Melanie, whom I recommend to anybody who wants to work on a book together to be published with somebody very special.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have been interested in angels since I was a child, and I have found that there is such a wonderful feeling of being involved with people who are interested in angels. There's something very special, not just at Christmas time, but any time. I've come to believe, after teaching Ask Your Angels for 7 years, that there's just so many stories of angelic intervention, even when we're not asking. Sometimes they just come along and they help us without us asking. But most of all, I think they like us to ask. And getting in touch with your angel, I think, is one of the most incredibly important gifts you can give yourself. And I have loved doing that most of my life. And now it's really special to be involved in a book that is bringing back angelic information. I think in the 80s it was quite big, and it sort of died off. And now I think with your launch, Melanie, you're going to find there are many people saying, oh, thank goodness. I've been thinking about angels for myself, and I didn't have a new book to read. So good for you.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, one of the reasons I love sharing this is because there were so many profound stories that throughout my lifetime, and there was a story, my aunt's book, or her story is in this book, and this story came out. I mean, this happened like over 30, maybe 40 years ago. I mean, I was a young kid, and I remember this story, and it had such a profound impact on my faith, on my own journey in life, because it was something that I totally saw, and went, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? And it was this woman that she was traveling with, there was a woman from her work that was traveling on a plane, and this woman was going through turbulence. And I don't want to give away the whole story, but she was going through this really rough time. She started praying. And then at the end of the storm, after the turbulence stopped a little bit, like a few minutes later, and there was this beautiful rainbow. So she took a picture of the rainbow. And this was back before digital cameras. So she had to go get her film developed. And when she went to have her film developed, the guy was like, oh my gosh, what is this picture you took? And there wasn't a picture of a rainbow, but there was actually a picture of Jesus, and he had his arms out, and you saw the robe and his hair and everything. It was like this outlined shadow of him. And there were holes with light shining through where the nails were from his hands and his feet. And it was just such an incredible photo and so powerful. And so she brought it to work, and she shared it with my aunt, and then she gave my aunt a copy. And so my aunt had this picture, like she was showing it to us and explaining this whole story. And it was just a really phenomenal thing. So it's kind of cool to be able to share that story after all these years. My dad has a story in here as well. Like there was something that happened to him when he was a teenager as a Boy Scout, and he literally almost died and was saved by something or someone. Mm-hmm. And he shares that encounter in there. So the idea is that these angels are all around us. That's why we call the book Angels Among Us, because they are everywhere. And now some people in the stories you're going to hear, some of them felt a physical presence, like somebody tapped them or touched them, right? Someone else, they felt this energy of light or saw something physically, like a form or a light, or others even actually met people, and it was so striking, because the stories are just undeniable. And I really wanted to curate these stories of people that I personally know for credibility, because some of the stories people are going to go, wait a minute, I don't know if I believe this story because it's so crazy. But at the same time, I wanted to have the stories that I knew from my childhood and things that impacted my life, and be able to share those with other people. So I'm just so excited to be able to communicate that. And I want to say, hey to Linda. Linda Espinoza is on here as well, watching this live. She's also one of the authors that contributed. I've known Linda for many years. In fact, what's funny is Loanne gave me this mug. It's an angel mug. Hey, Hudson, will you do me a favor and grab that white angel mug right over there? I forgot to grab it before I sat down here on the counter. Right there. It's live, y'all. Anyways, Loanne sent me this beautiful angel mug years ago. Thank you. Here it is. It's called Spiritual Transformation Angel. This is what it looks like, right? And it says, let your light shine so brightly that others will not only be drawn to it, but be encouraged to do the same. And I love this. I literally use this cup. You can tell it's like totally stained. It's cracked. I mean, I use it every day. And this was probably about 6 years ago. Yeah. And it meant so much to me that I also got one for Linda. Hey, Linda. So because she's also one of our authors writing a book, and then she contributed a story. And this was probably 4 years ago that I gave her hers. So that's just one example of how a coffee mug, one person does a good deed, they pass it on to someone else, and then Linda passes it on to somebody else, right? And so when you think about the beauty and the joy and the good things that you can give to other people, it's that same benevolence that angels can bring us, right? We're just talking about a coffee mug and a one little gift of kindness. But when you think about these stories and the hope that it can give people, that's something we want you to be able to pass around, right? Whether you buy this book for as a gift for somebody, whether somebody's struggling with something and you need to give them the gift of hope. Oh, I see Karen is on here. Karen's also one of our authors. Hey, Karen, good to see you. In fact, Karen is Loanne's daughter and is a producer and has a major podcast and is doing really, really well. And her book is one of these books up here behind me that you might be able to see behind me up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, so when you think about these encounters and you hear some of these stories, and we're going to get to those in a minute, I really want you guys to be open. Linda says, I still have the mug. I love that. So I want you to be open to recognize these things and realize how they're always there. And the common denominator of what we found that happens almost every time there's an encounter with an angel. And we're going to share that in a little bit as well. So stick with us, get comfortable, grab some coffee, grab some tea. If you have questions, we would love to see your comments. I know you're joining us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We love interactive engagement. So if you have questions about this, or you want to share your own story in the chat, the people who couldn't be here live can watch us back later and also be joining us. So that'll be fun. So anyways, I would love to turn this over to one of you two ladies. How about Loanne? Why don't we start with you? You and I were talking earlier and you said something really cool.
I said that even people who are mad at God are not mad at angels.
Absolutely.
It's really quite striking when you get to talking about people about angels, as they may have some issues. I work in the world of grief. I help people who are grieving. And even those people who are angry about the situation welcome the story of angels or the fact that there are angels. Children can see them all the time. We were talking about this the other day. Karen has a little guy, Lucas, 2 years old, and not even 2 years old. And I do know that babies can see those angels. If you ever walk past them, you can look at them and you see them moving from the head from one place to another and smile. You got to believe that's an angel, and they can still see them. It's just when they get older, sometimes we grown-ups talk them out of it.
It's very true. And I had my own experience. In fact, my son, he's now 14, and he came over to give me the mug just now. Hudson is like our miracle baby. And his story is in our book because of something that happened to him when he was a baby that I was able to witness, about a conversation that he had with his brother who had passed away when he was just a little infant. And it was really incredible. And it gave me a lot of peace as a mother that had lost her child. I was struggling emotionally with that and still do. I mean, it's been 17 years. He would have been 17 years old now, but it doesn't get easier. But at the same time, it brought me such comfort to know that they had that connection and they were able to connect and have that conversation even. And then there's a story that I included, another story in the book of my daughter who had this connection with my great aunt who had passed away 2 weeks before this incident happened, and made a connection with my daughter that actually saved her life. I get goosebumps thinking about it. It was just incredible. And so the other thing to think about is no matter what your religious beliefs are, right? Whether we have people that are Christian, we have people that are Catholic, we have people that are Jewish or Buddhist or Muslim, that included stories, people from all over the world. And no matter what somebody's religious beliefs are, most people believe in angels and we believe in the soul. Even if the pragmatic dogma of the religion may be up for debate sometimes, the fact that this love and this energy from angels is always so positive. Unlike a ghost. Now, I know, Loanne, in your story, you talked about that. What's the difference? That's a question someone had here too. What's the difference from a ghost and an angel?
Well, that story came from Karen's, my daughter's son, and he was about 8 years old. We lost a daughter around the same time you lost your son. So this daughter apparently, from his viewpoint, was what he said was hanging out in his sister's room, and he wanted to know whether she was a ghost or whether she was an angel. And so what I told him at the time, after inquiring as to what kind of a show he had been watching prior to this situation, was that angels, in my belief, have never been human, ever. Ghosts have been human. And so consequently, sometimes angels will come and appear as humans, but someone who has passed is more than likely a ghost, but also a guide. Because I do believe that a lot of people who pass come back to help someone else. And in this case, Cindy, our daughter who died, was very close to Karen's daughter. And I'm sure was comforting her in her own way, in a way. And angels never, never scare anybody, ever. So
That's
they
true.
can move in and out, and they can talk to children, they can talk to adults. I remember one lady in one of the classes said to me, if I ever saw an angel, I'd die of fright. And I remember saying to her, you know what? I don't think you're ever going to see an angel, because angels don't do that. They don't scare people. They just give them that feeling of safety and love, whether you're a baby, whether you, in fact, there was one man that I talked to on radio, and he was a Jewish man. And he said to me, he did not believe in angels one way or another. And we got to talking about it for about 20 minutes. And we went off air, and he turned to me very tearfully and said, you know what I remember? I remember my grandmother used to set a place at the table for my angel. And I just remembered. So in talking about it, a lot of memories will pop up. In reading about it, a lot of memories will pop up. And when that happens, there's more conversation. And that's what you're doing. Just like it said on the cup, Melanie.
I love that. Thank you. Well, and it really is about, taking that positive experience. And when you share it with others, I found that when people talk about their story, like I have heard all of your stories a lot, because we've been, writing them and helping you edit them and all these other things and collecting them. And Amber Torres, by the way, did a phenomenal job of getting all of these stories in. We've been collecting them for years, and she put them all together and help decide how we're going to separate them in chapters and all that good stuff. But she did such a great job. Thank you, Amber, for all your hard work and efforts. I know she's trying to get here today, may catch the end of this as well, since it's live, and she's in traffic right now. Oh, and I see Rita just popped in. So we'll say hi to Rita in a minute as well. Rita, I'll pull you up in just a few minutes. Okay. And so the beautiful thing is, no matter, I don't care how many times I hear these stories or tell these stories, I get goosebumps every single time. Like, it just blows my mind. And now, Carrie, speaking of goosebumps, you just got back from Israel. Now, I was there earlier this year. I was hoping we would connect with each other, because I was supposed to go back again, and just get back actually yesterday, but I had to change up my trip due to some family health issues. But the beauty is that you just got back and you wrote about your first trip to Israel, and then you just went back again. So what was that like, first going to the Holy Land, going to Israel, and just feeling this energy and presence of being in these incredible places? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
I would love to share that experience. And I also want to share just like my aha moments of just sitting here over the past 20 minutes and listening to Luann, like that there are angels and messengers, like so much more than I think I even realize. And, I wrote about my experience with an angel at the birthplace of Jesus in Bethlehem. That's my story in the book. And it was just such a godly presence of light that I experienced in one of the darkest caves that I've been in. And it was very unexpected. But the story that I really want to tell here today is the story of how I had the angels bring messages to me to be part of this book. And I don't think you know this,
Really?
Melanie. I
No,
really
I
want to
don't
share
know
it
this. I
because
don't know this. I love this.
and it's just it's all happening in the right timing, in the sense that I went to Israel, had this experience, and was able to share it in this book that just launched on 12/12, right? But starting in November, last month, basically on 11/11, I started seeing I saw the number 1212. And I know that there's a story in the book about angel numbers, and I typically see angel numbers a lot. And that's probably one of the most common messengers I feel like people see around the angels is angel numbers. But I don't see 1212 very often. I pretty much see 111 or 222, not the 1212. So I didn't really think much of it, but I saw it the first time on 11/11. And then I saw it again the next day. And I said, that's interesting. And then I saw the third day in a row. And that's when I was like, there must be some meaning behind this 1212. And, of course, like I looked it up, and it is a message in the Bible, and there are messages of it. But then I saw for a whole week straight 1212.
Really?
This message of 1212. Yeah, a whole week. Up
Meaning
until
like
November
you just saw
18th.
the number, like the clock, you just happen to
Yeah,
look at
I
the
was
clock
seeing
at
it on my
12:12.
phone. I was seeing 1212 on my phone, and I take screenshots when I see the angel numbers. So I have proof that I saw this number for literally 7 days straight. And I
What?
said after the third day, I was like, there is something communicating to me. And
Oh, I
I
love it.
just, I didn't really know, but I knew it was guiding me somewhere. So on Friday, November 18th, literally like 3 weeks ago, right? I hear from Amber that she's collecting a few more stories to go into a book about experiences with angels. And so I raised my hand and said, I did have an experience in July at Bethlehem at Jesus's birthplace. And so I got on the phone quickly with Amber, and she said the book is launching on 12/12. And I said, oh my gosh, that's the message that I was receiving. Yes, count me in this book. I know I'm traveling over the next 3 weeks, but I must share my story. And she's like, your story must be in the book. So it's just so interesting. And like the messages, we see the messages all the time, but sometimes we discredit, I feel like, when the messages show up. And for me, I love reading the book because I'm hearing and I'm seeing where God is showing up in so many people's places, in people's lives, right? The angels are showing up, and how I have probably missed the messages too. But the angels want us to see them like with urgency, I believe. I think there's some type of urgency that sometimes we discredit because we don't really think much of it.
I think
And
that's a
yet there
really
is a
good point.
meaning to everything.
That's true. There is meaning behind it. And, there is a common denominator that we found with pretty much every single one of the stories of people that had these encounters. Almost every single one, without fail, was praying. And I'm getting chills again. I'm getting angel bumps right now, right? Where they were praying for something to happen, and then this encounter happened, right? And with my daughter's case, I was praying, God, please don't let her get hit by this car, because we were at this park and the cars were going 50 miles an hour. And then this whole intervention from an angel happened, and it saved her life. And it just still blows my mind today, because it's so vivid when I think about that memory. And I think it's when you see and hear these stories, and you guys, when there's no way we can get into all of them here today, because this is going to be a short show, right? But we just want you to encourage you to not only get the book, have this experience. It's a short read. We're talking about maybe 22 stories. They only take a few minutes each. It might take you 40 minutes to read the whole book. It's a very short little book, but it's designed to give you a pick-me-up. So you don't have to sit and read it all the way through. But if you're just kind of feeling a little down, and you just read one story and you go, oh, okay. And then you go, wait a minute, I had something similar. And what's interesting, so by the way, Carrie, Loanne has also been to Israel.
Yes.
And Linda is going to Israel next month. She says, I can't wait to read your story, Carrie. And I have been to that place that you're talking about. I have been to that same spot, and we had an incredible experience there, which I didn't put in the book. But it was, it was kind of like, it was the actual birthplace of Jesus. And we had a group picture that we took outside, and there was this big angel white light shining right on the group that was in the photo, which was amazing. And we all got chills, and all of us were like crying. It was so beautiful. And so very similar experience in a similar location, but like with a whole group. So it's really, you know, like having those experiences are so profound. And I'm so glad you got to experience that. And Loanne had such an incredible time with her brother there. So I
Mhm.
really want to be able to go back and take my parents, you know, when it's more convenient, like a better time for both of them. My mom got COVID and it was like all these things last minute. And we were just like, okay, this is a sign. It's not meant to be. And we were launching this book on 12/12, which is the day I was going to be flying back. And that would have been really difficult to do all of that at the same time. And we could have launched at 11/11, but if we had, we wouldn't have had your story. So that was another
Right.
reason we got validation for 12/12 versus 11/11, which would have been in November, and we wouldn't have had some of these stories.
You know, what's really nice about as you're talking here is making me think back to when the angel conversation was so big in the 80s, is that when you do this and people read the book, I think what they're going to say is, I did have that experience, and let me show this to my friend or my daughter or whatever. It's going to plant the seed for much more conversation, which I do believe with Carrie, that this is going to spontaneously start more conversation about the angels, which will allow the angels to be more evident to people who weren't looking.
I love
Yes,
that.
Mm.
I love that too. Because they are always there. And it's
Mm-hmm.
when one is ready to receive the message, I believe, is when the message is received. The messages are always there. Like you said, I love that you went over what is the difference between a ghost and an angel. Because like myself, I would see things and hear things as a very young child. And to me, I believe that was angels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet no one else in my household did. And then I went to the birthplace of Jesus with 10 people. And my mom's like, did you really experience something there? Because I didn't experience anything there. And so it's there for everyone.
And the conversation allows this to be more aware. Your antenna goes up. You're able to think about it a little bit more. You share it more easily. And that's what's so great when, especially, I really encourage the people who are watching also to think about the little ones, because they can still see them. There was a friend of mine who at one time who wrote the book that started Touched by an Angel. Do you remember the
Mhm.
Angel show? And
With
she was
Rona
telling,
Downey, yes.
yeah, she was telling, not but the woman who wrote the book originally. But what I'm saying is, she was 5 years old and her grandmother died, and all the people in the family told her that the grandmother went to sleep. And so,
Mm.
as a result of that, she didn't want to go to bed and go to sleep ever again, because she didn't want to go where her grandmother went. And this led to an angel experience for her, who came and explained to her and showed her her grandmother and gave her that feeling that everything's going to be okay. And she wrote
Wow.
that book, which became a 10-year television show. And that's when it was really a conversation. But it sort of died down a little bit. And I think you're going to re up this whole conversation in a way that we need worldwide right now.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to put this link in here real quick in the chat. And so that you guys will be able to get it. And also, you can go to our website and at mydefiningmoments.com for more information on this. And then the link is in chat as well. Or you can search for it on Amazon. If you search for the title of the book and either my name, you'll be able to pull it up. Also, some of our authors' names, you'll be able to, pull it up and sync it with them as well. And Karen says, I can't wait to get this book. So glad you put it together, Melanie, and love the 12/12/22 launch day. Oh, thank you, Karen. Yeah, this is definitely right up your alley. In fact, I remember years ago, I went to a workshop that Loanne was doing about celestial conversations, because Loanne's focus on helping people resolve grief is it's being able to go back and heal. Well, I'm probably butchering this, how you would say it, but it's going back and healing those relationships that were fragmented by death. So if somebody died and there was unresolved issues, that you can actually do transpersonal journaling and be able to have a conversation with that soul, like soul to soul conversation, because the soul is the part of us that lives forever. That's the part that never dies. It's always eternal. So when someone dies, even though their flesh is not here with us, we feel that connection to their soul. And there's a way for you to get either feel that connection to them or have that kind of soul to soul contact and get that resolution that you need. And we had gone to her workshop that day, and I just had such an incredible experience there, remember? And we had all these, that eagle that was flying over. This was in Carmel Valley. I've never seen anything like this, you guys. And we didn't even understand what it meant. We had to look it up on the internet and go, what does it mean when an eagle does this? But this eagle flew over, and it was literally just hovering. There was no wings flapping. It was just like standing still in the air right in front of us, like out the window. It was insane.
And
then
we were on a mountain. Remember, we're on a mountain.
Yes.
He was riding the waves
Yep.
as if he wanted to remind us how easy it is to fly.
Absolutely. And then there were also because there were like these airwaves up there that was just like we couldn't see the wind blowing, but he was just kind of gliding on it and just hanging out on that air pocket. It was so weird. And then there was also this beautiful moth that was hanging out on the window ledge in the kitchen,
Yes.
like all day long. And it was like this beautiful, like butterfly moth, like, right. And which, is always equated with death, where you see butterflies and you think, okay, that's someone saying hello. So we felt like, okay, we're doing this huge workshop, and now all of a sudden we feel these confirmations. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting is when I did the journal, I was, I wanted to, try to see if I could get a message from my son who had passed away from Carson. And something that came through in the journal, it said, I met Ben and he's a healer like his dad. And I thought, I don't know anybody named Ben. Who is he talking about? And we were up in the mountains of Carmel, so you couldn't get any cell phone coverage up there. So all day long, I didn't know what it meant. And as I drove down the hill and got back into cell phone coverage, I got a text message from my cousin, JB Horton. And he said, hey, Lindsay, his wife. He said, Lindsay had her baby today. We had a little boy, and we named him Ben. Mm. And I had no idea they were going to have a baby boy. Like, we didn't know what names they were choosing. And this was before he was born, because he was born during the day. I got the message in the morning, and that really brought it home for me and validated this process of being able to have these beautiful soul connections with people. Mm-hmm. And it brought me so much peace in my grief journey with my son, because I feel like I can connect with him soul to soul at any point. And I just want to thank you for that, because it really was a profound experience. So
my honor, dear, my honor.
Oh, I can't wait for your other book to come out too, because it'll help people with that. So Luann, how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about Celestial Conversations or your workshops or coaching or your other books or anything like that?
Well, it's easy enough to email me. I can give you that if you like.
Sure.
It's lamayer@msn.com. And I'm always happy to talk to anyone, particularly those who are going through grief. It's a process, and it often needs a little bit of a helping hand along the way.
Well, I appreciate that. You just have such a beautiful spirit about you, and you have just been such an amazing angel in my life as well. And I want to thank you for always being that positive light and getting the chance to meet you in person when you came out here with your husband, Ray, and being able to connect with Karen, with your daughter. I feel like I know your family and I know your stories, and I just thank you for your courage to share them with the world. And I know that you're inspiring a lot of people. So thank you so much for everything and for being here today.
Thank you, dear.
Absolutely. Okay, jumping back to Carrie, real quick before I do that, I want to point out our website, mydefiningmoments.com. So if you guys want to share a story in another book, we have books coming up in the future. We're going to do another book in a few months about miracles and answered prayer. We're also getting a lot of stories from people who said, I would have put a story in this book, but I didn't know about it. So this is the purpose of getting it out there, talking about it, sharing that experience. So please make sure you check in with us. If you want, you can go to that website. You can fill out an application where you can tell us a little bit about your story, your own book idea. If you want to actually write a book, we can help you with that, help you from either do it yourself, a done with you, or even a done for you, where we have ghostwriters. We can set up an entire book processing, formatting, everything for you, publishing, teach you how to do it and keep all of your royalties. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. If you do have a story that's inside of you that you want to share for the world, maybe you don't want to write your full story, but you want to share a story like this. We actually have another author named Laura Duncan who is writing a book with us, but she wanted to write a book about another experience in what she's doing in her business, but she had such a profound experience with an angel that we were like, we have to put your story in the book. And her angel warned her against a serial killer named Ted Bundy, and helped her from getting abducted by this serial killer because the angel intervened in that interaction. So it still gives me chills. That story is incredible. So I can't wait for all of you to reach each other's stories, because so many of the authors that you're meeting here today haven't read the book yet to see each other's stories. So that's going to be exciting for you guys to get a copy and be able to do that. So because the book is brand new, it just came out on 12/12. We're doing a special feature on our show today to talk about this book. Encourage you to get a copy while the price is so low. Amazon lowered the price. Loanne said this was the Amazon angels. We had nothing to do with this. I am not kidding you guys. I've been publishing for 30 years and I've never seen this happen in my life, where they changed the price from 1995. They lowered it to 358. I don't know why that number is. It'd be more fun if it was like 333 or 444, but they lowered it to that price. So take advantage of it while you can. Okay, Carrie. So let's go back to you for a second. So you were in Israel. You had this incredible experience. You got this validation of 12/12. Now tell us a little bit about your other books. Like, I know you just had a book that recently came out. Tell us a little bit about the experience of writing a book and what that's done for you as a coach, or to build your authority and credibility. You've written 7 books now. What has that journey been like for you?
Well, I have to say, you're the best of the best, Melanie. If anyone wants to write a book or be a published collaboration author, you are really like the best top authority, I feel like, to go
Thank
to
you.
write books. So I love, being part of your first book, which I have a copy of, Defining Moments, SOS, and now with this book, Angels Among Us. So the question is, what has being an author done for me? It's taken me really seven publications, I feel like, to realize I am a writer and I am an author. And I knew that from a very young age. But, sometimes we need to gather a lot of evidence. And I think this might go along with the theme of the angels among us, right? Sometimes we can think like, or know that there are angels, but the gathering of the evidence, it takes more than once to see it. So it really has confirmed that I am here to share my own story, inspire others through storytelling, help other people share their stories and write, especially like to heal and to move through things and to activate what has always been inside of a person, but we don't always see it. And that's really, I feel like, the story of feeling the light in Bethlehem at Jesus's birthplace. It was the confirmation that the light exists. I knew, I grew up in a Jewish household, just not a reform, not really practicing, but realizing that the light, not really realizing the dogma or the religion, but realizing that God exists. And my middle name is Faith. And I didn't really understand what faith was, to be honest. I shied away from the faith, my own identity, my own being. And it's part of the writing process. And I feel like publishing books that has really allowed me to step into, this is who I am, and show other people.
Writing a book is a transformational experience.
Yes.
Right? It really is. You have to become the person who wrote the best-selling book. And I think that's why some people get scared, because they get imposter syndrome, or who am I to write a book? And they don't realize their knowledge, their experience in life is so valuable. And people are willing to pay to learn what you know, and take the shortcut as a mentor, as a coach, as an advisor, as an expert for like nonfiction books, and really, if you can help somebody heal from an experience because of your experience, there's a lot of validation in that for you, and a healing modality for you to be able to help somebody else. And that makes like your pain not, in vain. There's purpose behind that pain. So I totally hear what you're saying.
Yes, the purpose behind the pain, and realizing like the writing process is transformational. it really is transformational. I mean, I'm a transformational leadership coach, and yet not everyone can step into realizing they are the authority of not just their life, but they have the authority because they can breathe, because they're a child of God, because they're here with gifts to share. And that's why I love sharing books. I love helping other people see the potential within themselves to write their story. Every person has a story to tell.
Absolutely. And a lot of times we tend to shy away from sharing our stories, especially secrets, because secrets are all about shame. And when people start to get the courage to share their story, no matter how difficult it is, it gives other people permission to do the same, right? Some of these stories are very personal. I mean, there's a story about a woman that was in the hospital and literally dying, and a man came in to help her, and then everybody else was like, who was that guy? We don't have a nurse by the name of Gabriel. His name was Gabriel. Like, that's
Of
another
course.
big clue, right? And it was amazing because they're like, they were all like, okay, time to remove the tube. They're like, wait, Gabriel already did it. They're like, who's Gabriel? We don't have a Gabriel here. And they were all looking around for some guy named Gabriel, and he didn't have a mask, and he wasn't dressed like everybody else, and he didn't have gloves. I mean, it was really interesting because that would never happen in a hospital. But obviously, this person came and had this interaction as a human being. Like, and there's several stories like that where actual people came in to intervene to save a life or help somebody with something, and as a physical form of a human being, not just
Mhm.
like this, angels, like let me get this little one right here. This is one of my favorite Christmas ornaments that I have, right? This is like our angel that lights up and everything. So it's not like they saw this coming through their hospital room, like, it was actually a real person in the flesh, and that just disappeared just as quickly. And we have several stories like that. There's also a couple of stories about people that were driving, that were having a really, like, they should have been in a really horrific car accident, and they survived. Something happened where someone physically grabbed the car, and they felt someone take the wheel or someone lift the car up where it would have gone over a cliff or the ditch. It was insane. So those are the things I can't wait for you guys to read about. Like I said, I love giving books as gifts, and I love giving the gift of hope. I see we have Rita in here. I'm going to add Rita up to this feed in a minute as well. But I want to thank you guys so much for being here today. Is there anything else? Carrie, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they have questions about the type of coaching that you do or any of your other books?
Direct message me on Instagram is probably the best way. Is Carrie Faith on Purpose. That's the best way. And then also email Carrie Faith on Purpose. My name's there, KeriFaith on Purpose @gmail.com. I definitely respond to everyone. Yep, there it is in the chat. Thank you, Melanie. My title of the contribution is Don't Just See It, Feel It. And sometimes we don't see the messages, and sometimes we do, and at other times we just feel it.
I guarantee after this show, there'll be a lot of people feeling and hearing their messages. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Melanie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you guys, both of you, for being here today. I love you both, and I appreciate you so much. And I can't wait for you to get your hands on the book. When you do get it, please videotape it and share it with us, because we love being able to be there with you when you open up your little book baby and have your own little book baby experience. And we are going to be doing different book signings, and we have different authors in different cities across the U.S. that are going to be doing book signings. So you can find out about those on our social media pages as well. If you want to meet some of our authors in a town near you. So thank you, ladies, for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm going to grab another one of our authors who jumped in here today. And you guys are welcome to hang out if you like. Otherwise, thank you very much for being here and for sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
God bless you, honey.
Thank you, Melanie.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, take care. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye. All right, I am going to add Rita Gladding. I see you, Rita. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. I love is that a poncho or a sweater? I love that. So
It's
cute.
a poncho thing.
Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Well, and I appreciate you being here today. I know some people may or may not be familiar with your story, and you did submit a story in our Angels Among Us book as well. This is a copy of the book here. This is what it looks like in my hot little hands. Angels Among Us, inspirational messages from beyond. So we're talking about what it's like to have encounters with angels. What does it look like, feel like, sound like? And I'm sure some people have had multiple encounters, like myself. I put a couple of different stories in the book because I really wanted people to have that experience. So, Rita, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here. And then, if you want, share a little bit about your story that's in the book as well.
Okay, I would love to do that. I'm using my telephone. I can't get you any other way.
That's
So
okay. We can see you.
you can see and you can hear. Okay.
Yes.
So my son was killed in a hit and run accident 4 years ago, and we have taken up a cause to help the state of California bring up the sentence that now exists for hit and run drivers into a more realistic frame. Right now, if you hit and run, you get from 2 to 4 years. And we are trying to get it up to 4 to 6 years. We have
Now,
been,
especially if it's a felony hit and run where somebody was intoxicated or under the influence, what in California right now, just let me back up for 1 second, because a lot of people in different states may be watching this and don't realize that there are state laws, there are federal laws, but in California, they get a lesser sentence. Basically, they get rewarded if they leave the scene of the accident and then sober up, lawyer up, and come back. And that's really what happened, unfortunately, with your son. It was not only the grief of losing him, but then having to go through this process of a court battle and trying to get the laws changed in the state, and all of this journey, which you outlined in your own book called Gavin Gone, which is a beautiful book and an amazing story as a mom. You did a great job. So thank you for sharing that. And I know that has been an incredible journey. That's an ongoing journey for you. And sorry, go ahead.
yes, we've been back and forth to Sacramento since 2019. And our assemblyman is going to take us back again in the spring of 2023, which is now just about here. And we're going to fight again. We are going to join with other families in the state of California that have gone through the same grief agony as we have. Yes, my son was killed by a man who fled, who waited 5 days, sobered up, lawyered up, came in, walked out. He never spent a night in jail there in the beginning. So we spent 8 months in the courthouse here in the city we live in, which is Fresno, which is where Melanie lives. And we kept working on doing something. Everybody walked away. The man who killed him, 13 months in prison, got out, was hired back at his old job, if you can even imagine that.
Wow.
Yeah, that I don't talk about that one, obviously. The man who fixed the car he walked out of the courtroom before us. Nothing. Little
Wow.
slap on the hand. And he was they couldn't prosecute him for a misdemeanor because he already had a DUI. And if they prosecuted him for a felony, they would have to deport him. And they decided, no, we're not going to do that. So he walked out of the courtroom before us. And then the girl that was in the car with the man who killed Gavin, she actually got 4 months in jail, which was a shocker. Nobody expected that was going to happen at all, but it did.
Well, so tell us a little bit about how that journey and what you went through with Gavin led to this angel experience. Because I know you have a story in the book as well that you're featuring, that you are including. And, sometimes, like, I've lost my son. I know that's something that we have bonded together with, like you and I. And when I lost my son, you were there for me. I ended up writing a book about it. You ended up buying my book and giving it to so many people that went through their own grief and loss. And you were such a big supporter of that because you wanted to help other people that were struggling, never dreaming in a million years that I would be handing you my book someday. Like I remember that day very well at his funeral, and it was it was it's like I hate giving the book to people because I know they're suffering, but I love having the resource of hope to give somebody to get through it. And I know that's what your book has done for many people. So the ironic part of all these years of knowing each other and how many times our paths have crossed, and just that pure intention of loving people and wanting to help them through it. And you have this incredible book. You've done really well with it. I'm so proud of you. And then since then, now that you've experienced writing your own book, launching it, building your foundation, building your mission and message, now you have this incredible angel story that gives me chills. Again, every time I hear your story and I see that picture, it warms my heart, you know? And so tell us a little bit about your angel story as well.
Well, we decided to start a foundation for Gavin and be able to support his loves, which were science and the environment. And to do that, we have a golf tournament every year. So the first year we're at the golf tournament, the family is standing under the big banner that says Gavin Gliding Foundation. And the professional photographer takes a picture of us. She says, okay, it looks great. And then my good friend Catherine said, let me take the same picture. She took the picture, and there was a beam of light that came down right between my daughter and I, where Gavin would be standing if he were on this planet as a human being. And my friend Catherine says, Rita, wait, you got to see this. You believe this. And the same picture had just been taken with nothing there.
Wow.
So to us,
and it was exactly where he would have been positioned in a lot of other photos that you guys took together, you know, and which it in between you and Susan, or right behind you and Susan. It was amazing. And Susan is his wife. And I remember seeing that. And it's just literally this straight shot of light. It's not like an angel ray from the sun coming in, because you know how those come in at angels. It is straight down, like from heaven. Like it is beautiful and very powerful. And every time I see it, it warms my heart. You know, like our boys are up there doing their thing, changing the world, and we're down here doing our thing, changing the world through them and with them. And because of them. So I think I just love that picture. It just represents so much hope for so many people that are struggling with grief of losing someone they love, and wanting to have that presence, or that feeling that they're there. And like, it's undeniable. Like, you guys are going to see this. It's in the book. Okay. The picture's in the book. It's really neat. And you'll be able to see, like, there's other things all throughout. There's different photos and other experiences that you can have in the book to witness some of these things that we're talking about today. So Rita, did that bring you comfort when you saw that? How did you feel when you saw that light?
I've always felt that he never left us. And that's how I felt when I saw that picture, that especially for his children, he was always going to be with us, always going to be around. His children were 8 and 10 when he was killed. And I felt like, oh, yeah, this is right. Here's Gavin. He's here. He's going to stick around. He's going to search and take care of us. And that's been the case.
Well, I am so proud of the work that you've done. I know that Gavin would be very, very proud of his mom. And I know it's not easy to share these stories and get them out there, but you have just been this warrior mom. And I just am so grateful that your story is in here. This book wouldn't be the same without your story. You guys can get a chance to grab the book today. It's a very special price today. Angels Among Us, Inspirational Messages from Beyond. It guaranteed to give you goosebumps, angel bumps, and hope in a crazy world that we're living in. It also makes a really great Christmas present. So we're right now before the holidays. And again, if you're watching this back on replay, I can't guarantee the price will be the same, because the Amazon angels changed it. And honestly, we had nothing to do with that price. It just happened. We can't even change it back. It's been kind of cool. So take advantage of it, buy multiple copies if you'd like, and give them out as wonderful Christmas gifts for people this year. Also, I wanted to share, it's interesting when you share your story, right? If you guys want to include a story in our future book, right? Our Defining Moments book series, where we feature all these different books that have different scenarios. We're going to do one in a few months about miracles and answered prayer. We might do another angel book because we have so many stories coming in of people that didn't get a chance to include it in this one. So we might do a follow-up because we can never get too many angel stories, right? And you can go to our website at mydefiningmoments.com and submit your story. Or if you need help writing your own book, we're happy to help you with that as well. I'm going to put that up there. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring the bell so that you get notified every time we go live. We usually do at least one show every live in every week from wherever we are in the world, sharing a little bit more about books and interesting people that write them. And I will share with you guys one more story. This is not in the book. This is a bonus. So when I told my ex-husband, hey, the kids are in this book. There's a story that's coming out. He reminded me, and I should have put his story in there because it was really profound. He reminded me about something that happened to him years ago. And this was right after our son had passed away, within probably a couple of days. He was home alone. I was in the hospital because I almost died at the same time. And I ended up surviving, and my son sadly did not. And we had to take him off of life support. So I was still recovering in the hospital. He was at home alone, feeling really sad. He went to sleep. And when he went to sleep, he had a dream. And in the dream, a little boy came to him and said, Daddy, wake up. Daddy, wake up. And it was an older version of our son, right? It was like he said he knew it was our son, Carson, who was older, like maybe 4 or 5, because he was a baby when he died. And but he knew it was Carson. And he woke up, and he woke up out of the blue of the sleep, and he had a weird feeling like, I need to go in the living room. And he was home alone. And he went out in the living room, and he forgot that he had left a candle lit when he fell asleep. He was like, it was in the middle of the day or something. He fell asleep, didn't realize he was going to take a nap. The candle was lit. When he went in that room, the candle had jumped to the wall and was on fire. Like the candle had kind of grown up the wall, and the drapes were on fire. Part of the kitchen was on fire. He didn't hear anything. The smoke alarms weren't going off. And he knows, like, for a fact that if he hadn't woken up, like, the whole house could have burned down. And that was an encounter that he had during that dream with our son, Carson. And it was a really powerful experience. So, like, again, I want you guys to be inspired by all of these stories. Look for those angel rays in your photographs, right? Listen for the voices that you hear. It could be outside of you. It could be inside of you. There's a loud voice, something that's telling you to do something or not to do something. Don't ignore it. Listen to it. If you feel that something, a physical presence, or you see something, share those stories with people, even if it's just on your social media page, because it really does bring joy to a lot of people, and it validates their own stories and experiences as well. So I just want to thank you all for being here today. Rita, thank you. I know you spent a lot of effort trying to get here today and be able to be on the show, and I'm glad it worked out for you to come on and share your story about Gavin. I know that you're inspiring a lot of people. So thank you so, so much. And I look forward to seeing you in person in the next few days so I can get you copies that you're going to have for your book signing in a few days. And thank you again for being here. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to share with people about reaching out to you or your other book?
Gavin Gone is available. That's the name of my other book. It's on Amazon. I would love, if you haven't already read it, go ahead and read it. It is simply the true story of what happened to this entire family as we fought to get some justice, not only for Gavin, but for other people in the state of California. So get your hands
and
on
what's the
it.
foundation? What's the website for the foundation?
Oh, yes. My foundation, our foundation is all one word, all lowercase, Gavin Gladding Foundation dot, it must be edu.
Is it .org?
.org. I'm
.org.
sorry.
GavinGladdingFoundation.org. Okay, perfect. I'm going to put that in here as well. So you guys can check that out. You can also see more about her book and her story on there as well. And just thank you guys so much again for being here. I really appreciate it. And Rita, thank you for being here as well. And
Welcome.
I'll remind you all to join us next week, live at 5 every Thursday, where we add a new show each week. Sometimes we do some bonus shows in between if we have book launches. But this is a great chance for you to get to meet some of these authors and hear about their experiences. So again, Rita, thank you for being here. Also, Karen and Carrie earlier, and all of you for joining us. Love to hear your thoughts on this. You can also leave comments on here, even if you watch it later. We'd love to get your feedback about the book and hear your own angel stories. So thank you all so much for being here today. And I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, and take care, everybody. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Bye.
Bye-bye.